Welcome. In this video, I will be discussing 7 considerations that you should take in building raised garden beds. I will be discussing the location, weed control, bed sizes, bed box materials, soil quantity and type, irrigation, and trellising needs. So the first thing to consider is location. In terms of location, the southern facing side is best, as that is the side where you will have the longest exposure to light. Also, if you have difficulty with the southern side, if you could get the western side also, then that also will work. The other thing we want to consider is weed control. And so one of the things that was done here is at the base of each box I have cardboard laid out there, and that will help to slow down the rate at which these weeds will resprout. And that is actually one of the reasons why I decided to build raised boxes in parts of the garden, and that is to help me with the weed control. The other factor that we want to consider is the bed sizes, and it is recommended that you should not pass dimensions, or the bed sizes should not be anything larger than 4 feet by 8 feet. Now here, this one here that I'm working on, it's actually a 4 feet by 8 feet in dimension. And also I do have some that are a little bit above 4 by 4 feet in dimension, but for the most part, most of these beds, that enclosures that I've done, 4 feet by 8 feet. Also, the fourth factor that you want to consider in terms of building your raised beds is the materials. Okay, so we know, traditionally we use the cedar wood, but in my case I needed quite a bit of materials, and that would be too expensive in my case, and so I decided to use the cement board here, which is resistant to termites, and also it's resistant to rot, and so it will last a longer time. It is somewhat flimsy, but thus far I have not had any problem with it. The next thing you want to consider is the soil quantity and type. And so in this case, because of the large quantity of soil I would need, I decided not to get the bagged one, and so I decided to get it wholesale at one of our local soil provider. And so this is a nursery mix that I've been using, which has everything that I would actually need. And so in this case, I did not have to mix the soil myself. This nursery mix consists of chipwood, organic manure, cricket crap, and so forth, and it is well aerated. And so I need quite a bit for this. In the estimation, I need an average of if I was to estimate using the wheelbarrow, I would need about 6 wheelbarrows loads for the 4x8. Although in this case I did add some of the existing soil, as it is sand loam, and I did add some wood chip also into these boxes as shown here. And remember also, you can actually build your own soil. I've seen some soil where you can do your mixture of organic manure with some other mixes, including the wood chips. You can add your own wood chips and your own trace nutrients in that case, as you go through. Peat moss also. So there are a number of videos out there that actually shows different types of combination that you can do, but actually for because I had a late start, I just wanted to have a mixture that I know would work right away. And so this is how the procedure through which I added the soil. And as I said, if you have wood chips and other materials laying around, then you be sure to add. The next thing we want to consider, and that is the factor number 6, and that is the irrigation. Okay, irrigation is very, very important component, especially here in Georgia where we will have the hot summer months. We want to make sure there's a consistent and direct supply of water to the plants. So here I have the irrigation tubing, which is being supplied off I use the 3/4 inch PVC pipes as the main supply lines in this case. And so far it's working pretty well. So haven't had any problems with it so far, but you must have the irrigation in mind, especially if you'll be having a significant number of raised beds, as in my case. Then that will be very important. And these materials, most of these are readily available at even stores such as Lowe's or Home Depot, and it's relatively easy to install. You don't need as much a lot of tools to get this installation done. And one of the video that I have that will be coming up soon will be the how to actually set up your irrigation system in its completeness, in terms of the parts you would need and so forth. And then the 7th factor that you'd want to consider in terms of setting up your raised bed is the trellising. And so not only trellising but the stakes. So the tomato plants, make sure that the tomato plants are adequately staked. I have some pumpkins which definitely will need some trellising to run on, and along also the cucumbers, especially being in raised boxes, that will not be enough space for them to run. So definitely trellising will be needed for that, and so that should be in mind at the start of the design. And also I have beans. I have various types of beans, the Kentucky Wonder, dough, and other pole beans. They definitely will also need some sort of trellising in this case. And so just to recap, the 7 factors you need to consider. Number 1 is location, weed control. And so thus far it's been great. I'm able to control those weeds. You need to consider the size of the boxes that you'll be using. You should not pass dimensions or exceed dimensions 4 feet by 8 feet. Take into consideration the materials. Okay, make sure they're friendly materials, friendly to the environment. Soil quantity and type. Definitely raised beds takes a lot of soil, so it's always good to get it wholesale from a local supply source. You want to take the irrigation into consideration. If you can get it to be automated, that has its own routine, that's self-managed, that's even better. And the 7th factor is you want to consider trellising. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe.